anyone can literally look at the GitLab and look at the fucking progress that's been done already and all the shit that's been solved. All right.
I mean, you can just look at testnet and see that it's working.
Yeah.
I mean,
and also you could look at testnet, and yeah, I've used testnet plenty, and it works like a dream. You know, everything works fine on it.
Yeah. You just got to give them some time to do some code review.
Of course. That's what I've been telling everyone.
Yeah, if I was in charge of a team of people, or on a project, you know, and it was something super important, you'd be damn straight that I would want to go and do code review on the code that everybody did on my team, right? And I wouldn't just take it, but you know, oh yeah, you did it right. I would, you know, I got to go and see that they did it right? And I bet you, you know, in a lot of instances, you know, you're looking at the code and like, you know, you're like, you know, it's maybe some of it's like, well, I wouldn't have done it exactly that way. Maybe I don't like your style, but you know, it works, so it's fine. I won't touch it. But then other times you're gonna look at it and just like, ooh, what did you do, right? And just like, no, that's like either inefficient or, you know, maybe there's some kind of a risk there that the person didn't take into account. And then you're gonna have to basically go through and like kind of redo it, right, or whatever. So I think we're just at that point now where we're kind of, you know, they're going through, they're reviewing the code. It takes time. You don't understand what other people wrote. It's kind of a pain in the ass, to be honest.
Yeah, 100%.
I absolutely hate it. Nine times out of 10, I absolutely hate going through other people's code. It's usually trash. I mean, I assume their code's not trash, right?
Well, no, it's annoying to go through because your coding style might not be the same as theirs, and then you're going through and you're like, the fuck, all right? But then, you know, it's
you can have slightly different styles when it comes to writing code. I mean, for the most part, everyone should be fairly standardized, I would say, but just some ways of, you know, how you're breaking it down, you know, can be a little different or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, but that's when I tell people. People are like, "Oh, where the fuck's my money?" Blah blah blah, and I go, "Well, go check testnet." It's literally the only difference between testnet and mainnet. It's just that it's not the finalized product, and it's got the word test in it, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I would just ask them like, why do you care? Are you selling on the first day?
Yeah, like, I have some people that like fucking because have gotten into, and then they're like, where the fuck's my buddy? Blah 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 blah. Right, and then those are the people who I haven't made money. The people who I have made money, they're quiet. Why? Because they already know, like, they already know shit's gonna be good. So it's like they ain't got to worry about shit. But the other people who I've never really dealt with in crypto, they're like, "What the fuck is this?" Da, 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 right? And I'm like, I just laugh because I don't laugh at them, but inside I laugh, right? But it takes time to build up that patience, right? You know.
Yeah, it's much easier to put the money in if you see that you're already up.
Yeah.
Right. So, like the people who, you know, bought HEX, let's say, before the sacrifice last year, like let's say 8 cents, right? Those people were, you know, chill the whole time, right? It went up to 50 cents. Like, oh wow, this is crazy. It goes back down to, you know, 30, 20, you know, back to 30, whatever. And then she's like, yeah, it's fine. No, you know, no big deal. And but if you put your money in, you know, at 45 or whatever, you know, even 30, maybe even 20, I don't know. Yeah, and you didn't DCA in when it went down or whatever it is, right? If you just bought it the one time and you're underwater the whole time, it's like, wow, this sucks, right? So,
that's,
you know, surprised that they wouldn't have sold off.
Yeah, but it all depends on, you know, there's gonna always be people who buy tops, right? And there's always gonna be people who buy bottoms. So I know that's just the nature of a financial market, but
Yeah.
like I like the people who I've gotten in, and like their money that they put into Pulse was basically like free because they've already made like shit tons, right? So those people aren't fucking worrying. They don't say shit. When there's some people who are like, "Oh, did I get my money scammed?" Blah 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 blah, and I go, "No, you literally view it on testnet. Look, you could see the progress and all that, but then they don't comprehend it, right? They just want to see dollar signs. They want, oh, hey, I want to see how much bagged money, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it just
And those are
depends where,
people who I
like
don't
you're
talk
saying,
too much.
if you're ahead of the game, then you're fine. Probably you're chill. And if you're underwater, then obviously it's more stressful.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I stupidly bought in, in the 43 cent range, something like that, 43, 45 cent range. And I kind of knew, pretty much after a day or two, like, oh, this is probably bad, right? This is probably the top or whatever, right? And I didn't, for whatever reason, I didn't sell, and I was pretty sure that it wasn't going to stop at 30 once it broke, under 40. I was pretty sure it wasn't going to stop in the 30s. I was pretty sure it was going to hit like 29 at least. Still didn't sell. I just held on to it.
That's okay. Yeah. Like,
but I mean,
like,
you could, but I'm already, I got in early enough that I'm like, well, whatever, it's not a big deal. I'm still, net positive. So it doesn't really matter all that much. It'll come back up one day, Yeah, I mean, ideally, I would have, taken the money out and I could have bought back in at 20 cents or, 10 cents or, 6.9 cents that we're at now. And that'd be better. But, I didn't. And, it is what it is. I'm just going to wait it out and,
yeah.
That's it.
Like, I personally, especially like, I'm better now, but months ago, I wasn't in the best place financially. All right. And I also wasn't in the best place mentally. But then I like grew myself, and even though financially I'm not in the best way, it doesn't really matter to me because since I've had the years of experience, my mindset is like that Pulse shit that I'm like the money that I put in Pulse or whatever, right? I'm just chilling on that, right? Even though it's like, oh shit, I could have used that money. No, I don't give a fuck. I'm chilling, right? Why? Because it's like, hey, I know how this shit goes. I've been through this shit for years, right? I know how this shit's gonna run, right? And so it's all about that. Like, even if you are doing bad financially, that experience then is like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna come back up from this, right? You know what I mean? And that experience will like, oh, it's always experience, and you just like that's the thing. People can't rush their shit, right? People need to just learn slowly, learn from others who have experience. That's one thing. That's like the best thing you can do, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you have to have a lot of patience and you have to just try to understand, from others who've been there, been through the previous cycles, you know, um, you just got to hold on. You just got to stay with it and it'll, work out in the end.
Yeah,
Right.
like
But
throughout this whole thing, this whole bear and shit, whatever, right? I don't think at one point I have panicked or been FOMO or anything, right? I've literally been so fucking calm this entire time. It's like I'm at
yeah,
peace.
again, I think it may also come down to, again, like we were talking before, if you're ahead, then it's fine. If you're underwater, then, you're panicking. So,
Oh yeah, well
because you want
I'm not even
to,
fucking doing that good financially right now. I'm doing kind of ass, right? But it's like fucking, I know what the fuck's gonna go on, right? And I know that like
yeah,
shit's gonna be good, right? I'm definitely not doing that bad, but the fucking definitely not as good as I was at my highs, which I don't really care for though. But I know I'm going to, get back to where I was. And it's all about, instead of people freaking out, oh, I lost my ass in crypto, blah blah blah. Right? No, you build a fucking strategy to get yourself back up, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, in 2018, I lost some money, obviously, at the beginning,
Yep.
2008, and
Yep.
and I basically just, I sold everything. I said, no, don't like this whole tether printing money thing. The markets were clearly, you know, basically topped out, and we're doing the dead cat bounce type thing, right? Even though I didn't know what it was called at the time, I could see, you know, and I got out on like the second bounce, I think it was, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I you know, intentionally waited for it, and then just one night I divested out of like whatever 30 tokens I had, you know, at the time, and then I just, you know, I walked away for 2.5 years, right? But if I would have just held on, you know, forget about all the altcoins that probably would have went nowhere, other than Dogecoin, I guess, would have been fantastic. If I would have had my Dogecoin still, that would have been great.
Oh fuck! I remember having a shit ton in like some fucking random ass wallets, and then when I heard about all that shit, I was like, "Fuck! Look through all this shit."
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure the Cryptopia or whatever, I think, is where mine was at. So I think it was gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I sold it anyways. It
Yeah,
was. I had an old spreadsheet saying how much I had of everything. I'm like, oh man, that would have been nice, you know. But
I remember
yeah.
this one crypto. I totally forgot what they call it now, and it's like you can't even buy this shit on any fucking exchange, right? They were actually like really like they were doing their completely own shit. It was a proof of work system. This was years back, and it was very small. It's a proof of work system, but you mined it on your old computer, your own computer, and it was a self-developed. It wasn't EVM. It wasn't anything. Right? It was their own fucking shit, right? Which was really cool. But their only problem was that they didn't have an exchange for it, and then so it was all peer to peer, right? And so they said they were going to build their own exchange. But what was really cool about it, like you could team up with your friends and like kind of like it was very simple to build your own pool and shit. I totally fucking skips my mind. It's not like, even if I mentioned, it's not like you could buy the shit anywhere, anyways, right? I think I forgot what the fuck it was called, but that shit was like that shit. Like I wish that shit took off because it shit could have been like fucking really revolutionary. Fuck, but I think they called it like I don't even know what the fuck they called it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter anyways.
Yeah, it's random coin, but it was really cool how like you can the amount of money I was making just off of my computer because it was like really early. I was like, what the fuck, right? But yeah, like I posted a chart. Another note, I posted a chart in here. I think like yesterday, and it's honestly like the whole crypto space over the long term, right? And this is just going off the Bitcoin Bitstamp chart, but that kind of, you know, until recently has like mainly like reflected the entire crypto space. Everything has been like realistically linear, and it's a linear uptrend, and it's the exact same trends have been following since 2012.
Yeah, I'll have to go check it out. Did you check out? Did you see the BitBoys chart that he posted on Twitter the other day?
Oh, which one?
He put a comment in, and he commented about Hex being a scam or whatever
Oh,
it was.
Ponzi, the thing where you said Ponzi.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Let
Yeah,
me go.
but it was actually the Bitcoin chart.
No, wait.
Did
Is
you
it
not catch that?
up?
I'm sure it's still up. Yeah, why wouldn't it be up?
Okay, hold on. Let me check. When do you post it?
I think it was just like last night or whatever. Yesterday, I think,
Okay,
sometime.
hold on. Give me a sec.
Maybe it was a week ago. I don't know.
That's so funny. I see that.
Yeah, it
I
was.
see that.
He called Hex a Ponzi, and then it was. He basically wrote the title of Hex. He said like Hex chart,
Oh,
but it
I
was
thought
clearly the
I
Bitcoin
didn't
chart.
see. I saw it first, and I'm like, "What? What the fuck is Bitboy talking about? Like, what? I switching up, all right?" Oh, that's funny as fuck. I thought he was actually talking about Hex when I saw
I
it.
think he's now.
Huh?
Yeah, I think he's officially like a fan of Hex now, or at least anti Bitcoin Max.
I thought he was. I thought because I knew BitBoy was like with Pulse and Hex and all that. But I'm like, I don't. I thought he was talking shit. I was like, oh fuck, right? But no, that's funny. That's really funny. Someone tweeted, if Pulsechain launches tonight, I'll buy every hexagon in a milkshake. Oh, someone made a pulse.
Yeah. Anyways, going back 2.5 years there, obviously it sucked. It was still smart to sell off, but maybe I shouldn't have exited the whole thing for 2.5 years. Maybe I should have bought back, later in the year. Because obviously that would have been great. Even if I would have held on right to my third of a Bitcoin and then all the altcoins that probably would have went to, zero more or less.
Hold on, I missed what you said. What's that?
I was saying, like in 2018, even if I probably should have sold off. I mean, that was probably the right thing to do, obviously, because it did crash way further from when I sold it. But I shouldn't have left for 2.5 years, right? I should have just bought in at the low or DCA'd in later in the year. But even if I would have just held on to the third of a Bitcoin that I had left, and then all the altcoins that I had, I'm sure, yeah, like Dogecoin, was valuable. There was maybe like another coin or two that would have had some value come back, and I would have, been ahead.
Don't worry, I've made my fair share of mistakes too. I had I think in 2020 I had about like 2 million hex or some shit like that, right? Between my I had I think a half a mil staked, and then I was just arbitraging the risk because this is when Uniswap first just started up, right? And I was arbitraging it from that and centralized exchanges, making like little bits of ETH here and there, right? And then I had some sitting in the wallet. But then I had later down the line, I left for a couple months. I came back and saw that my 500,000 Pulse staked was worth like a couple grand, and I was like 17 at the time, right? So I was like, okay, oh shit, right? That's cool, right? I'd never even saw a grand of my life, right? At that time, right? And then I sold half of it, right? I unstaked half, and then I called my grandma. I go, this could be life changing money, and then she's like, oh, okay, keep the rest, right? Like keep the rest staked. And then I just after a week I blew the money, and then I took the other half, and then shit, my grandma was right. Yeah, I mean, I was like, fuck. But one thing I'm still trying to find is back when do you remember when bitcoin.com had hex on there? Like they had their centralized exchange and they had hex on there.
No, I don't remember that one. I wasn't in at the time, probably.
Okay, it was a while ago, right? They had their whatever. And so the thing was with it is that they like for some reason it was when hex was stupid cheap. They had their like minimum cash out was like 200,000 hex or something, because hex was like dumb cheap, right? It was less than a satoshi, right? And so then I forgot all about that. Then I wanted to check back on that, but then bitcoin.com got rid of hex and all that. So I'm like, fuck. I'm like, what if I had like a couple 100,000 hex on there or whatever? Or even if I had 100,000, because at the time it wasn't the minimum to withdraw. Fuck, man, that was a lot of fucking money, right? So, but the thing is, they don't even have it in there, and since it's centralized, you can't do shit about it. So I was like, fuck, right? You know what I mean? I was like, dang, that sucks. Because I didn't even know if I had shit in there, but if I did, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, that really would suck. Yeah, I mean, I guess you gotta learn your lessons, right?
Definitely. I've learned from all that shit, right? Because back when, like last year, when I had just some money fucking flying around like nothing, I saw how much I put into shit coins, right? I would literally take like a half an ETH to an ETH and just be like, yeah, this shit coin looks good, and then just buy it, right? And then get fucking rugged. I was like, what the fuck was I doing, right? But you learn from that shit. You learn from that, and as long as you learn from that, no matter where you're at, you're always gonna still be ahead. Because then the next time when it comes around, you're already gonna know and you're gonna learn, right? You're gonna be smarter and wiser.
Yeah. Yeah, the key, like Richard said, is just basically hold on to it. It's the best appreciating asset class you're going to see. And so if you find one, especially one that has, use case, right? Like Hex, like Pulsechain, like PulseX, just hold on to them. And they're going to go up. It's not like you're like, oh, is Dogecoin going to, still be the thing in 3 years, or is some like pterodactyl coin gonna take over? Like I don't know, right?
But honestly, also Hex is really the number one coin really right now. Like, cause I like through every day I've seen on DexPad or not DexPad, Dex Tools, whatever the charting site is, right? Dex Tools, right? That Hex is always like number two, number one, like it's hovering there, right? So it's being consistent. Right? So I'm like, fuck, right? I don't think there's any other shits right now that's going on that's better than Hex, right? Like when friends will be like, oh, what else should I invest in? I'm like, I don't fucking know, right?
Yeah, the nice thing is now that Hex is back down to under 10 cents. It's easy. It's really easy to recommend.
Oh yeah.
Right when it was in like the 40-cent range, 30-cent range, it's like, like I don't know, like I like it, but like, is this a good price? I don't know.
When I was looking at the Uniswap rates, I was like, oh, that's a bit tough, especially coming from like my days way back. And I'm like, that's tough. I'm like, I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could recommend this right now. And I'm not a maxi of anything, but when I say like I'm like, there's not really anything better than Hex right now. It's not really anything better, and I'm non-biased to any coin really, right?
Yeah. So now is the time that we should be onboarding more people. If they can afford it, right? The problem is people generally can't afford it in the bear markets because they need the money for other things, right? Food, rent, whatever.
Yeah, the best people to get in at these times are people who aren't in crypto already, or who aren't deep, because they have regular money, right? They just have like to them, they don't even know that a bear or bull is going on in crypto, right? They're just living their normal life, right? So when you get someone in at this time, and then in a couple years down the line, they see they come, they're like, what the fuck, right?
Yeah, it's almost it would almost be best to get them in and make them stake it before they realize that they might need the money. Otherwise, right? If you figure out, okay, tell them, hey, how much, this is money you're not going to see for a few years. Are you sure you don't need this? And then maybe, yeah. I mean, as long as they're like actually needing it for food, right?
Yeah. Well, usually what
you
I
can get them to
do is
lock it up.
what I've done with people, and I'll say, okay, throw in a couple grand, whatever you're comfortable with. Right? If it's a good enough amount to stake to make up for the gas fees, then do that, and then just start staking for 120 days, say, right, and just see how you feel about it, right? See what makes you comfortable. And worst case, hey, in fucking half that time or however long it is to where you break even right before you get your gains on that, right? You can unstake and then you're just paying gas, right? If that's not what you feel, right? And then, you know, most people get comfortable with it and then they restake, right?
Yeah. Yeah. This is not a bad decision, I think. I would just think like if you can get them to lock it up for 2 years, maybe 3. Yeah, it's hard to say. At least 2-3 years, then, you know, maybe by that point we'll be at the top of another bull market, and you know, it'll be really easy for them to, you know, end stake it. You know, they won't have an issue with the fees so much because they're going to have so much in returns. And you know, if the economy does take a dump in the meantime, right, in the next, let's say 2 years or whatever it is, if we do end up going in like a recession type deal that lasts, you know, if their money's locked up, then it's locked up, right?
Yeah.
And they can't take it away from themselves, right? They'll figure out a way, you know, as long as they still have a job, at least, right?
Yeah.
They're not gonna, you know, if it was there, they would probably just go through it, right?
Yeah.
But if it's locked up, then, you know, they'll find another way. They'll either, you know, start, you know, looking at the budget earlier, right, and chopping stuff off, or, you know, they'll figure out a way. I'm sure most people do.
Yeah.
But then
Well,
when it comes out after the, you know, after the recession or whatever it is, they'll be super happy, you know, in 2-3 years or 5, 10, 15 years, whatever, you know, whatever they stake for. But even, you know, even 2-3 years, I think they'd be happy if the recession's done by that point, and then they look at it and say, shit, yeah, that $1,000 turned into, you know, 10,000, 50,000. I don't know what it's going to turn into. You know, maybe it turned into this huge amount, and yeah, then they're going to be on the upside, and then they're going to be able to reinvest more, you know, into crypto at that point, and hopefully it's not, you know, hopefully it's still going up on this clip that we're seeing, right? Hopefully it doesn't get anywhere close to the legacy markets, right? Hopefully we still just go with ridiculous exponential growth. I mean, I think we'll see it still for probably another decade at least. You know, some accelerated growth that outpaces, you know, legacy finance.
Oh yeah, 100%. But yeah, that's the thing though. Like I've taught like a lot of people, like, because this is the truth about recessions and all that. That's where millionaires and billionaires are born, right? You're gonna have a lot of people losing their ass, but that's where wealth gets transferred. Who do they lose their ass to, right? You know what I mean? Do you want to be the person losing your
Yeah,
ass, or you know what I mean, getting that shit?
yeah, and it's a lot easier to put in, you know, $500, $1,000, whatever it is, than to buy a house, right?
Yeah,
Even in the downturn, unless you're buying a house in Detroit, you know, you need more than $3,000. So yeah, it's much easier because you can chop it up, right, and put in what you actually can afford to put in.
So, Profix, I'm interested. Was it Richard Hart that made you come back to crypto, or what made you come back to crypto? And was it the
I
bear
can't really
market?
hear you too well. That's kind of muffled.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was asking Profix. I said, was it Richard Hart that made you come back to crypto?
Yeah, 100%. So I'd watched Richard basically in 2017. You know, I found him somewhere, right? Either me or one of the other guys at work found him, right? Because we're just going through all the different, you know, videos at the time, right? The Doug Polk videos and all the other guys, right? And I think I found Richard, you know, through the YouTube, whatever. And um, instantly liked him. Obviously, watched him up until I think I stayed into crypto until that basically when the interview where they basically say he was like crying online, whatever it was, because he didn't want to wait another like 2-3 years for Bitcoin to come back. I think that's the last stream that I remember watching of Richard, because I was kind of in the same position, like, oh yeah, this is pretty much it. I realized the market was done, and I was just waiting for the bounce to get out. So yeah, I basically got out. I got busy with work. I got really busy with work, and didn't really look at crypto that much. Like, every maybe 6 months or 4 months, I would look, check the price of Bitcoin or something like that. And like, yeah, okay, that's interesting, whatever, and my exchange went under, right? Quadriga CX, was my onboarding.
Oh gosh, not Quadriga.
Yeah.
You
So,
from Canada?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Oh no, not Quadriga. I remember that.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, I mean,
fuck.
I didn't have any funds. I didn't have any funds with them. When I cashed out, I did it like within 20 minutes or less.
Oh yeah, I got right before that shit. Oh.
Yeah, like first, yeah. So I think it was March maybe that I got out. Yeah, I think it was March of 2018 that I got out, and I just, I put everything. I got everything to go to ETH, I think it was, or Litecoin, one of the two, and then I basically sent that to the exchange, and then I cashed out like 20 minutes later. I was like, nope, I don't trust the exchange whatsoever. And then, whatever it was, I think it was 8 months later or something like that, they folded.
Do you know the whole story behind that?
I haven't watched the latest documentary on it, but I pretty much know the story on it.
I did because I researched heavily into it, and then I did a school project on it way back, right? And it's fucked, man. Like their whole exchange, he was just playing with fucking ones and zeros, and it was so fucked.
Yeah, but it was such a good exchange at the time. It was so easy.
Yeah. Oh, at the time it worked. Oh gosh, I remember at the time it was so fucking good, right? There's nothing like it, especially in Canada, because it was hard to find. Because if you remember, at that time, you probably remember where Coinbase, it wouldn't really work with withdrawals in Canada, right?
I just remember that they only allowed me to put in like $250 a week, maybe even if I registered, it was like $250. I'm like, really? Like, screw off. It's not even worth my time.
Yeah,
like, just get out of here. So I needed,
so,
I wanted to put in more.
Quadriga was like it was the shit. It worked at the time.
Yeah, but obviously, you don't trust the centralized exchanges. Like, we had all this, FUD over Coinbase because you don't actually own your coins, right? They, now that it's come out, like, hey, you're just a creditor in line. If they go bankrupt, you're the last person to get your money. It's not actually yours. It has an account number with your name on it. It doesn't mean that it's actually yours on these centralized exchanges, right? And even back in 2018, I kind of realized that some of these exchanges might have a run on their liquidity of how much they actually have. And that's why when I cashed out, I kind of got it all set into basically one asset, and then sent it over, and then cashed out within like 20 minutes. I had it in my bank account or whatever. Yeah, so even then I realized, hey, this is a problem. Whenever the market's crashing, you can have a run on the money in these exchanges, and so you better not leave it there for too long. It's necessarily evil to have it for an on-ramp and off-ramp, but
and just
don't leave it there.
Right. Like I got my crypto fucking card type shit, and I just fucking use that as a tool. I'm not holding shit in there like that, right? I just got it as use it for what I need to.
Yeah, and then is Hexagon Soldier still here? I don't. Oh, there he is. Okay. Yeah. So then basically, I took like a 2.5 year hiatus from crypto. I actually looked at Cardano the first week of the pandemic when I was sitting at home, and I saw it was like 2.9 or 3.9 cents. I think it was 2.9 cents, and I was like, oh shit, this thing's gonna go to 10 for sure. right? But then I'm like, I don't have a on ramp, and I just, I didn't get into it for whatever reason. I just, was lazy, didn't look at it, and yeah, I kind of ignored crypto again. Didn't really pay attention for most of 2020, and then basically my kids got onto my computer, and I left myself logged in, and so they watched some YouTube on it, and I wanted to go see what they were watching, on my YouTube account. So I just went to the YouTube's homepage, and Richard was the only channel that I had ever subscribed to on YouTube. But I'd never really gotten a notification, saying that he's streaming or anything like that in the 2.5 years. And but he was there on the homepage. And then I'm like, oh yeah, shit, what's Richard up to, right? And I clicked on the video, and this is the one like from October, like a month before Big Payday. And basically I clicked on that, and then I was just like, holy shit, like what did I miss out on here?
Wow.
Yeah, and I was just like, frig, like I wish I would have known, because I would have been in, before it was a thing. I wish I would have just stuck with it, right? At least followed up with him. Yeah, it would have been. I mean, who knows if I would have kind of cashed out or whatever I would have done. If I, maybe I wouldn't have DCA'd in, at the opportune time. I might have panicked, right, when it crashed, in that first month or whatever too. I don't know if I would have had the confidence to stick with it, when it dumps for like a month straight almost, but or to kind of double down, right, and buy it at the bottom. But definitely, whatever, 10 months later, 11 months later, even though, I mean, it was easy because it was like it was $1 or 1.5 cents at the time that I saw it. I'm like, oh, okay, this is good. But then I was looking at it, I'm like, oh, this is really, it's kind of moved in price in the last month. Like that's kind of rough, but yeah, I understood the tokenomics of it. I kind of understood the balance between the staking and the trading, and how that would, play out, kind of thing, and how that was just genius. And I really like the tokenomics of it. And yeah, so then I figured out, okay, what's the best exchange, for me to get back onboarded with, and basically went through that. And I got in like literally like right before Big Payday. I got in. I thankfully bought it under a cent, under a penny.
Well, that's good.
Because it was crashing down. For Big Payday, it hit like 0.6 cents, 0.4 cents, something like that. I think it hit 0.3 cents after Big Payday.
Yeah, I remember, and I never thought it hit a penny.
Yeah.
Because at the time it wasn't doubt, it was just unfathomable. Like it was like, that's so cheap. Where it's like, that's no fucking way. It was like fucking Shiba hitting the fucking, or some dumb shit hitting a penny, right? Right?
So,
You never thought that.
So let me ask you. So now that you're in it, and know what it's about, now your kids can do no wrong, right? Because I mean, you found him again because of your kids, so they could do no wrong. Not ever.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, don't let them know that. So, I mean,
or at least ice cream whenever they want, maybe in the morning.
Yeah, they get pretty annoyed that I'm on my phone all the time listening to you guys. So, yeah.
But I don't even know how I discovered Richard, but I've been in crypto for 6 years, and I was kind of like coasting through trading here and there, not really like in it, right, like too deep. But then when I found Richard, I was like, oh fuck, like this like I always wrote off Ethereum, oh this is like trash, whatever, right? But then, because I had a friend telling me about like one of the like first century like Dex's Kyber, right, way back, right, and I was like, it was in high school. I was like, nah, fuck that shit, right? I don't fuck with Ethereum, right? And then I found Richard, and then I actually, funny enough, I thought Hex, because it said staking, I thought that meant proof of stake, right? So I basically thought of Pulse before Pulse, right? I thought that this shit was like proof. It was a proof of stake chain, and I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, right? But But what Richard really did was gave me that kind of spark to look into Ethereum and to learn more about it, and to now, okay, I get to fucking understand it, right?
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I was gonna say that's one thing that Richard kind of missed in 2017 was the whole Ethereum, um, the buzz around it and whatnot. I didn't know what it was right at the beginning of 2017. I had no clue when it was. I remember it was, I want to say $5. I definitely remember it $45 for sure. I think maybe I even remember. Yeah, I think I remember that when it jumped up to 45 for sure. Is maybe when I found some of the other crypto people at work. But yeah, I didn't know what Ethereum was. I'm like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what the difference is. I just didn't know. And I don't think they could explain it that well at the time. So because it was early 2017. So even though one of the guys, his son-in-law, I think wrote one of the wrote part of the EIP 1559 in the summer. So he's got his name, I guess, in the credits or whatever for it. So he got in like super early. So this guy's like daughter, basically, it's like in her 20s and retired. She was like in banking, and she retired because they basically got in on the ICO for Ethereum, right? Just randomly. So
GG. Yeah.
So this guy was a big Ethereum maxi, because obviously his daughter had hit, huge and whatnot. And
oh yeah, of course. Who wouldn't be?
Some people, too much.
If you don't know shit about it, and then you just hear fucking your daughter making shit tons, you're like, all right, this is the bee's knees right here.
But that's the thing about the phase after that, the whole ICO phase was that a lot of people, well, actually very few people got into all the seed rounds, because that's how they were done, right? There was usually early private seed rounds, funding rounds, and then they were unleashed to the public in form of an ICO. And a lot of people got wrecked that way because the seed found guys, they got the big bucks. So what we're doing now, the equivalent would be the sacrifice phase, but it's not private. You don't need to know Richard and like make some deals. You just fucking sack. That's it.
Yeah, that was the one of the things I really liked about it, right? Is it was gate kept, right? Like all these other things are.
Yep.
Yeah,
most of 2000
some whitelist or something. Fucking do it.
Rounds and then dumping on the ICO people.
Yeah. So, anyways, when this guy, when everything was crashing, basically, and he didn't understand, I'd found I think it was written like in the summertime. There was some paste bin thing about the fact that Tether was basically printed out of thin air, like $750 million maybe was printed. And I found that like in January or February, I think, of 2018. And when I found that, I was like, oh shoot, that's no good, right? Because I don't want to be playing with real money if someone else is playing with monopoly money, because I just don't like that. It's not something you want to do. And so with that, and the market's already crashing, that was the kind of the final straw. And then Richard basically saying it was done, even though I missed his tweet, basically calling the top out because it wasn't on Twitter at the time. But yeah, I tried to convince this guy that hey, Ethereum's going to go down too, because Ethereum was like a month later, right, from Bitcoin, and it had taken a hit from 1,400 down to like I think 850, something like that, and I basically had cashed out more or less, but I told him, I'm like, hey, if you want, I'd love to make a deal with you. I'd love to buy some Ethereum off of you. And he didn't quite understand at the time, what I wanted to do. And he asked me like, well, what are you going to do with it? And I basically just told him like, oh, I'm going to sell it. Like, if you give me your Ethereum, I'll sell it. And then like, whenever you want, you know, if you want to sell it yourself, right, just let me know, and I'll sell it back to you at that price of that day, whatever it is, right? Other than that, you know, just let me hold on to it for, you know, 3 months, whatever it is. And you know, or at my option, if I say I'm done, I'll give it back to you whenever you want it, you know, whenever I want to give it back to you within 3 months. And but he was too much of a Ethereum maxi at the time. He's like, no way, this thing's going, you know, this thing's going up to like $2,000 or whatever it is, right? And he didn't want to sell it to me, and that sucked. Yeah, that definitely sucked, because I had a way then to, you know, if he would have agreed, I would have had a way to short the market, right, just between me and him, because he wasn't giving it up. And yeah, I would have basically bought it from him at like $800 and sold it back to him at like 400, like a month later. And I would have recouped my losses, assuming he had enough. I assumed he had enough to cover what I wanted to buy from him. But I mean, it's hard to trust, you know, some random guy at work that you never really talked to, you know, other than the last 6 months or so. Only because you're talking about crypto like every day when you go to the washroom or whatever, and you pass by his desk. And you know, half these people are, or more than half the people are working paycheck to paycheck, right? I wouldn't trust any of them.
Yeah, those urinal crypto talks.
Well, his desk was like 2 desks away from the bathroom. I went to the bathroom. It was like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna stop here and talk to these, you know, 2 or 3 guys basically on the way.
Pit stop.
Yeah, like a 20-minute, you know, pit stop. Yeah. Yeah. My boss would always look up, you know, every once in a while. Like, hey, where'd he go? And he'd always see me over there and, you know, flag me down for whatever reason. And yeah, so yeah, that would have been great, because at the time you could only short Bitcoin with like $500,000 or something like that, or $100,000. I forget what it was. It was beyond, you know, what I would have been willing to risk, you know, necessarily. So, or that I even had, right? So it was like, yeah. But that would have been fantastic, because maybe if I did that, I would have stuck with it too, right? Because it wouldn't have been such a sour, you know, taste of losing some money. So maybe I would have stuck it out a little bit longer, or you know, got back into it. But who knows? You know, maybe it would have all just been in Quadriga, you know. Yeah. But yeah, it could have been on another failed. Could have been on another failed exchange. So. Yeah, back then you still kind of had to. I mean, if you're doing trades, at least you still had to have it like on the exchanges, right? There weren't really any good decentralized exchanges, I don't think, at the time. You had to go to some like really obscure exchanges. I remember for some of the coins, which then closed down, right? Obviously, but yeah, I just remember some of these exchanges. They had like maybe like Litecoin. They might not have even had like Ethereum. It was like Litecoin was the best coin they had, the most known one, and which, I mean, was still known, but whatever. But they didn't have Ethereum. They didn't have Bitcoin even, or maybe Bitcoin was just too expensive to swap. And then they just had these random coins that nobody heard of. Obviously, those coins all died off basically. Had zero liquidity for the most part on these random exchanges too.
Yeah.
I remember when I cashed out a coin from 24 cents down to 4 cents. I took the entire position basically, and then at the very end I kind of felt bad about it, and then I bought some back at 24 cents. So I reset the ticker as if nothing happened, but I had cleared out the liquidity all the way down to 4 cents, which I thought was funny. So, because you don't typically get a chance to manipulate whatever market is left, right? right? It was just so thin. It was ridiculous, right? With people's limit orders or positions, so. Yeah, that one sucked because I should have got out at 40 cents. I bought it at like 0.8 cents and I should have got out at 40. And I was going to. It dipped for like a day and like, oh, I'll buy it when it comes back up. And then, it never came back up necessarily. Just, kept on dipping. Yeah. So, yeah. When you're up, don't get greedy. Just.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just sell. Sell whatever you can. That would have been fantastic. Right. It was $200. It would have turned into 10 grand. So I still got, decent amount out, but it wasn't 10 grand.
That's okay. Got what you got,
Now it's so much easier. I mean, that was just somebody posted on a forum 3 coins to basically, grab. One of them. This other one was like I don't know about this other one. And then the third one was whatever. I didn't get into the third one. But it just so happened that the 2 coins were on the same exchange. So I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. If I'm sending money over, little $200 or whatever it was. I think I just put $200 on each. Maybe I put 500 on the one I wanted and 200 on this other one. I think that's what I did. Yeah, I think I put 500 on the one that I thought was better, 200 on the one that it was just like, whatever. The guy mentioned on the forum, I'll just do it, whatever, who cares? Because what else am I going to do with the money that's just sitting in there? Leave it in Litecoin. I mean, Litecoin is not really moving. And yeah, and that one turned out to be like my superstar, basically. Yeah, because it was early, right? It was sometime in November, maybe December. So it was early enough that it still, pumped in that last 2 months of the 2017. So, yeah, kind of like if you bought anything at the beginning of last year, if you bought anything in January last year, you were pretty much set, right? It pumped, it did like at least a 5x, 10x, whatever it was, and you were good. If in 2017, if you would have bought in November or like the first or maybe second week in December, you still probably came out okay. It can, the altcoins at least, maybe not Bitcoin, but in the altcoin world, if you bought it, then you're okay. But yeah, but I don't know. It seems so much easier now because it's such a clear use case for Pulsechain and PulseX and HEX, right? You see the utility in them, right? And so it's just like a no-brainer, right? Whenever there's a dip, I should be buying more, right? Yeah, I should be moving more funds in so I can see if I can buy, a dip again.
And you're buying something with value, not a falling knife, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we still might have some sideways action here. It's not necessary that you're gonna, you have to buy it now. I mean, DCing is probably the idea, right?
That's the best, because if it dips more, you're not gonna be out of your ass fucking, I bought at 6 cents when now it's down to 3, example. All right.
Yeah. And so I should really just follow my advice, that I have for Pulsechain. When Pulsechain comes out, my advice is basically, let's say you got $3,000 you want to throw in. Half a year is 25 weeks, right? So you can DCE in to Pulsechain, right? Whether it's Pulse or PulseX or HEX, whatever it is that you want to buy. I would just suggest buying the cheapest one, right? Whichever one kind of in the lowest relative position between the 3. But each week I would just put in, let's say, $100, right? DCA in $100 into it for 6 months, right? And you're bound to get, a nice average. You might not get you're not going to get the lowest price, for the full. You're not going to put everything at the lowest price, but you're not going to put it at the highest either. You're going to come up with some medium value, right? Which I'm sure will be plenty fine. And then you still have another $500 left over of that $3,000 that whenever you see it dip, let's say do like a 10% move down below maybe sacrifice price or whatever you think is kind of a good baseline, right? Price. If you see it dip below that price, then maybe take that $100, out of the 500 and throw it in. And if it dips again, another 10%, 20%, whatever it is, right? Whatever percentage you're calling out, but I would just basically have, this extra money, this 16%, I guess, 20%, whatever it is, extra money to buy the dips, right? So besides just DCAing in the whole time, have an extra, little bit of cash to buy the dips if it ever comes, let's say, below the sacrifice price. And then if it keeps on dipping even, right? If you've used up, let's say, the $500 in this example, and it dips even more, then maybe you just take it off the end of that 25-week schedule, right? So they say, okay, now I'm going to do 24 weeks or 23 weeks or 22 weeks, right? And as long as it keeps on going down, you just keep on buying lower and lower and lower, right? To make sure that you're lowering your cost basis, right? You still have your weekly buys, so that's good, but you're kind of doubling down at the lower prices every time it does this mechanical move down to a lower price range, right? And that I think that makes a lot of sense, right? And again, if you have faith in the project, if you think it has a use case, then just like Hex, it'll definitely go up, right? The big question is, is it going to have a dip? Where's that dip going to start at, or where's it going to go? Those are the questions that we don't really know. And so that's going to be the hard thing, is when do you start using that extra cash to buy the dips? But that's going to be my strategy. I think is, something along the lines of that, a 6-month or 25-week strategy with kind of a extra cash on the side to buy the dips. So probably be the strategy for anything in this bear market, to be honest, right? Hex should be doing it probably right now, right? Especially people who bought in anytime in the last year. If you onboarded in the last year, you should probably be doing it, right? Because you're going to be lowering your cost basis at this point. It's pretty much a guarantee. Randy, did you have a question or comment?
I have one for you, PulseX.
Sure.
Okay, so we found the funds on the Kronos mainnet beta, I guess is what they're calling it. But now, how do we get that from there back? Because I guess the USDC, it's a Kronos USDC contract, not an ERC20 contract. So how do we get that back to an ERC20?
Yeah. I mean, I think the easiest way is probably just to put it back